Welcome back to the Techno-Communism conversation. I'm I'm going to talk a little bit more about the idea of pathway to an AI-run planned economy and governance structure to match. I describe this in terms of something called the United Earth Directorate, which um, uh, is actually a little bit to do with the problem that I'm going to describe now, namely that in techno-communist conversations of the past, I have said that I have made something of a study recently, relatively recently, of those who have undertaken or written about cybernetic socialist projects, and by and large, those projects were either sabotaged by the fascist West, as was the case in Chile, the USSR, Poland, and others, or they were utopian in nature and did not present a pathway for workers to actually build that system. And those two problems are significant, particularly the former. And this is why on this show, and I think Marxist most generally, I talk about building something powerful enough to bring the fascist West to heel. That's more important than, say, um, the concepts focused on by bourgeois Western technophiles, like decentralization or democracy. In a perfect world, those would be good things, but these people are fascist sympathizers operating in service to a fascist system, and they're promoting these and other ideas almost exclusively in bad faith. Um, the creation of a techno-communist economic and societal framework represents a crucial opportunity for 21st century advanced computing, which has progressed quite incredibly. Integrating responsible development of powerful technologies like artificial intelligence with inclusive, ecologically regenerative modes of production promise to address urgent interlinked crises for inequality, political disenfranchisement, and environmental sustainability that threaten social collapse on the civilizational scale. Our current capitalist system is failing us, the entire world, economically to a high degree. Virtually no one benefits by the system, save for a wealthy few, and more importantly, perhaps threatening planetary health to such an extent that we could say that we face a multi-billion person loss of life due to effects like a capitalist climate apocalypse death spiral. Advanced technologies like digital twins or stronger AI assistants, specially tailored, integrated with artificial intelligence more generally and human insight, could enable alternative techno-communist economic formats that better serve shared prosperity and sustainability. Transitioning from the prevailing capitalist paradigm demands dismantling existing coercive power structures guarded by transnational corporate and political elites who benefit immensely from the perpetuation of the status quo, and by and large the populace who upholds these elitist institutions, particularly in the fascist West. Overcoming the ideological inertia and entrenched economic interests preserving business-dominated technological innovation trajectories requires mass social movements mobilizing to reshape institutions around principles of shared prosperity and sustainability. Under my proposed form of techno-communism, digitally augmented systems of representative participation, open, effective peer-to-peer accounting, and algorithmic planning work toward what would be effectively decentralized consensus formation in production and distribution. This will facilitate needs-based distribution rather than profit-driven allocation, absent externalized social and environmental costs. Technosocial potential resides not in technology alone, but rather lies latent, awaiting activation through outcome-oriented policy frameworks anchored in the emancipatory political economic vision. Importing insights around cybernetic socialism from thinkers like Paul Cockshott, who have done shows on previously, lays the groundwork for employing sophisticated computing capabilities to facilitate democratized participatory planning and move beyond profound environmental harms generated through dependence upon global just-in-time manufacturing systems. Corporate actors monopolizing technology platforms primarily seek maximizing financial returns. Their structural reform remains doubtful absent external political pressure. So a vast grassroots social movement for not just cybernetic socialism, but the cybernetic socialism envisioned with a real pathway to governance, must cooperatively advocate transformative systemic changes centered on collective rights and welfare, not protecting privileged interests. Overly centralized or authoritarian manifestations of state socialism risk reproducing coercions upon populaces evident across regimes. Preserving autonomy for workers and communities during systems transition requires codifying rights toward collective ownership that guard against extremes of either completely isolated market competition or top-down governmental imposition, divorcing decisions from lived constituent realities. Promising pathways thread this narrow terrain through linking automated data gathering capacities behind digital twins of civic environments with localized goal setting and evolved decision rights in contextually appropriate, accountable governance arrangements. Again, while it is important to consider the civil liberties of individuals in this system, we are looking at a climate apocalypse, death spiral wherein not only will there be no civil liberties but no civilians. So it is important, above all things, to envision a pathway to this sustainable governance, and that requires, in my view, an AI-run planned economy. That also requires uniting humanity to common purpose to a higher degree than is currently being done, which is why I have proposed that every individual begin at once downloading open source chatbots, and we must begin to work to tailor those as they are improved upon to our individual needs with respect to building this what would effectively be this proxy hive mind of digital twins that could operate toward activist and revolutionary goals in ways that networks of individuals could not. I see this as a tremendous force multiplier, and the kind of thing that even just a few tens of thousands of people operating in this way would dramatically eclipse the power of the fascist Western governments and other limp-wristed governments who are allowing this planet to be murdered. Operationalizing techno-communism at scale presents complex challenges. Past socialist nationalizations frequently have been criticized as being authoritarian. So the appeal of this more decentralized planning and regulation will prove appealing to many. Advanced analytics like real-time dashboard voter interfaces can enable nuanced public input and transparency in policy debates. At present, no singular technological solution to this problem of economic planning and governance generally exists, but I think that of the surveys that I have made, this incipient hive mind collective in the form of these digital twin proxies approaches such a viable solution. Political economic principles for responsible innovation can prove helpful in envisioning this, as do transition management frameworks attending to multi-level systemic interrelationships across supply chains vital for large-scale construction. From fostering just resilience in communities through social solidarity economies to igniting cultural shifts, celebrating sufficiency and sustainability over consumerism, diverse transition strategies integrating top-down regulation and bottom-up movements provide reinforcing means for accelerating change. Transition necessitates dismantling entrenched infrastructures of militarism and capitalism, reinforcing unequal power relations and vast ecological destruction now coming to a head. We must stop this destruction within the next 5 years, or we will face a multi-billion person loss of life, if not the extinction of the human species. In either case, this will effectively have been a grander, larger scale genocide than previous genocides with the global south, persons of color primarily, bearing the brunt of the damage for the lifestyles of the ruling elites and the wealth generally of the global north. Merely introducing piecemeal reforms around technology or bureaucracy have not made changes and cannot truly transform the underlying social structures that are generating these harms. Thus, movements must target the root causes of injustice while building alternative socio-technical systems, enhancing the distribution of services and the maintenance of the environmental systems. I contend that the techno-communist vision described here and on other shows on this channel really the most realistic way to do this. Techno-communism's hybridity holds comparative strengths relative to mainstream regimes, but also pronounced challenges. Market pricing failures seen during global pandemics highlight calculated capacities for balancing vital goods distribution and coordinating mass mobilization of resources exceeding other bureaucratic or capitalist means. However, maintaining dynamic efficiency equilibria for consumer allocation decisions balances against realistic growth imperatives for constricting environmentally damaging industries, demanding consideration for sustainability trade-offs, while democratizing ownership promises giving greater voice to dispossessed groups. Residual inequities could persist without proactive measures like reparative, universal basic services, or wealth funds enabling community control for self-provisioning needs while bypassing administrations potentially aloof or captured by special interests, not merely potentially. Um, they're functionally worthless for most services or protection of the environment. It, enabling widespread techno-communism may arise through diffuse peer production systems like open contributory accounting platforms and decentralized autonomous organizations where worker owner control automated facilities via blockchain-based participation. Despite uncertainties in system boundaries or constraints, ongoing evaluation anchored to ethical priorities like preventing reconsolidation of dominance can nurture collective deliberation. Updating rigid institution relies on codifying oversight rules, holding software accountable to civil society. A technological integration to economic and civic realms may progress more organically through open source developments, building platform cooperatives, granting worker ownership stakes while adhering to commons-based peer production principles and shared open value accounting metrics enabling network coordination, a purposeful activity satisfying social goals over profit-seeking shareholder primacy. Such radical paradigm shifts invariably carry uncertainties, underscoring imperatives for reflexive assessment and iterative adjustment. Sustaining constructive socio-technical co-creation relies on participatory foresight processes, proactively centering ethical risks around contingencies like concentration of control, techno-solutionist issues, displacement, and unintended second-order effects amplifying divides. Techno-communist systems operationalize high-frequency data coordination, machine learning, and digital twin modeling to navigate uncertainty, with activism shifting priorities from profits toward rights. These goals can optimize logistics for human development within ecological limits. Blending participation with automation facilitates provisioning based on solidarity instead of marginalization. Techno-communist proposals repurposing technology for emancipation offer instrumental means for cooperative, ethical, and sustainable macroeconomic coordination. The rapid 21st century digital transformations underway require rethinking political institutions and social contracts outpaced by technological upheaval, reconciling tensions over integrations of automation, algorithms, and artificial intelligence into public spaces and civic functions involves recasting legal and regulatory lenses toward increased oversight and involvement rights for impacted communities. Instilling humanistic design practices mindful of social equity and sustainability throughout research and development pathways stands necessary but insufficient without cultivating governable markets accountable to collective civic priorities, not just capitalist shareholder profits. Techno-communism offers a promising civilizational model for arresting the compounding systemic threats from climate breakdown, militarism, and marginalization. Its realization relies on mass movement power and political courage to challenge the powerful benefiting from prevailing violent extractive arrangements. Blending cybernetic systems thinking with distributed participatory participation offers a salutary techno-scientific means for radically expanding social provisioning capacities within ecological regeneration bounds. Despite profound transformation hurdles, the convergence of digital and political economic innovations leaves history balanced on a knife's edge, with techno-communism proffering instrumentality to pull back from the brink of dystopia if social majorities dare envision and work toward an emancipated post-capitalist paradigm seeking prosperity nested within livable worlds, equitable for all global publics. Again, it cannot be stated enough or strongly enough that we have 5 years to change the economic system dramatically, and by and large, many people are aware of this. Even fascist sympathizers living in the West are aware of this. They are prevented by what's effectively mass media brainwashing and the institutions, other institutions of the West, from behaving in this way. That's why I encourage you to begin to familiarize yourself with open source digital assistants. Mark Zuckerberg has said that in the first half of 2024 you will be able to download such an open source digital assistant provided through the Meta organization. Not a great company at all, but nevertheless a significant product. Instead of Llama 2, which was a weak AI assistant, he has suggested that Llama 3 will be a strong AI assistant approaching that of an artificially generally intelligent digital assistant. And even if it is not artificially generally intelligent, we can begin to create this new kind of governance structure. First, by a network of activists simply beginning to use these digital assistants in this coordinated way to organize and create the basis for something that could prove to be this new governance structure of semi-autonomous agents with human oversight operating in great number together.